You like that?
Yeah. Now, he is the son of the late Sir David Frost, hoping to follow in his dad's footsteps. Will Frost, who used to work in the City, is now trying his hand at television interviewing.
The family has had a long association with the South. Sir David and his wife, Lady Karina, lived in a village near Romsey in Hampshire, where they entertained Margaret Thatcher.
The veteran broadcaster, best known for his journalism, including revealing interviews, of course, with former US President Richard Nixon, died almost a year ago. He suffered a heart attack on board the cruise ship, the Queen Elizabeth.
Wilf, meanwhile, who went to Eton and Oxford, has been interviewing for us over the last few months. And this week he caught up with that famous 70s spoonbender, Uri Geller, at his home near Reading.
What is in the red thing?
Uri, it's great to be here at your Berkshire home, but it's not going to be your home for that much longer. You're leaving Great Britain.
I've been roaming the world for 43 years now. I was born in Israel, lived in Cyprus. Then I lived in New York for 10 years, and then I came to live in England, and that's now coming up to 34 years. We are going to go back to Israel, and I don't know whether I'll sell the house or not, because this is such a unique place that we've been living in for 33 years. As a matter of fact, this used to be a healing center 1,000 years ago. An old lady came up to me when I bought the house, and she said, "Oh, Mr. Geller, you know, this was a healing center 1,000 years ago." And I said, "Come on, how do you know 1,000 years?" And she said that it's in the Doomsday Book. When you stand here, they detect you and they come here.
You became, almost overnight, one of the most famous people in the world.
I couldn't handle the success. Suddenly, I was making a lot of money. I was after fame and fortune. And I couldn't handle it, and it was terrible. I had 7 handguns, Wilf, 7 handguns strapped on my body. I was totally screwed up with the bulimia, with the eating disorder, with this obsession of guns and so on. It was just shocking. Let me demonstrate to you what made me famous. So it was David Dimbleby who handed me a spoon or a fork. And then I did something very strange, very different. I looked into the camera and I said, "Everybody at home, go and get your spoons. Go and get your broken watches." I didn't realize that I sent 10 million people to the kitchen. Everybody came back holding a spoon because they couldn't believe that this will happen. I hope it works, because I hate failing. Yes, it's becoming soft. Look, I'll show it to the camera. This is a thick spoon that I picked up, but you see, it's almost like it's made from wax or plasticine, and there's no heat produced whatsoever. I'm going to just shake it ever so gently, and put your finger on it, it's cold.
When you started out in Britain, people were astonished by the things you did, the bending of the spoon, which is still astonishing, but today people are perhaps a little bit more sceptical of your abilities. How do you respond to people?
Well, the people who are skeptical about Uri Geller are the ones that contribute to the myth of Uri Geller. They have woven the almost subliminal legend around me, the mysticism. Anything that is controversial is interesting.
Thank you very much, Uri. Berkshire and Britain are going to miss you. It's been a treat to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, he says he'll be back, and Wilf is back too, Sir David Frost's son. Welcome. You've interviewed David Walliams for us, and Greg Dyke from the FA, and now Uri Geller. Is it feeling natural to follow in your dad's footsteps?
Well, it's certainly feeling very exciting. It's something I've been working on the last sort of couple of years behind the scenes, so I'm delighted that it's starting to come together.
Wilf, you grew up here in the South, obviously, with your parents and your brothers, Miles and George. What are your memories of growing up in such a famous family?
Well, I mean, overriding memory was one of happiness, and I think my brothers and I were always very aware how lucky we were. But the fame aspect wasn't too obvious to us. I suppose by then, you know, Dad was in his 50s and 60s. It wasn't like there was thousands of fans outside every day. I mean, he commanded great respect wherever he went, but the fame wasn't too intrusive.
But you had some pretty famous visitors to your home, didn't you? Margaret Thatcher one day, President Bush the next day.
Well, yeah, we did. And again, I suppose when we were younger, we didn't quite always, fully aware of how serious those people were. But Thatcher, interestingly, arrived for Sunday lunch the weekend after she was ousted as leader of the Conservative Party. And I think it sort of highlights how Dad was able to always get the biggest interviewees, because they were all very fond of him, and he remained great friendships with all of them, despite quite heated on-screen encounters at times.
The president's losses got to be cut on the cover-up deal.
Why did I say that?
February the 14th.
Well, because I read the American papers. The New York Times, the networks, and so forth were talking about hush money. They were talking about clemency for cover-up and all the rest. It was that I was referring to at that point.
And he is a legendary broadcaster, always will be. For many of us, we've said that. What are your memories of him?
Overall, of course, as being a fantastic father to me. But career-wise, I think actually his biggest achievement wasn't any single interview. It was the fact that he was at the top of the broadcasting game for over 50 years, which is pretty astonishing when you think about how competitive that world is. And of course, along the way, he was able to love every second of it. So it's quite an aspirational thing to do, to love what you do every day and do it for so long. And
you've left your job in the city. What's next for you?
Yeah, so I'm following the launch pad that Meridian's given me. I'm going on to become a presenter at CNBC, which I'm starting in a few weeks' time,
fantastic.
Which is very exciting, and hopefully be continuing to do bits and bobs for ITV alongside that as well.
Yeah, stick with ITV, Will. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Not at all. It's been a pleasure.
Now,